Hey you guys, Julia here. So in today's video I wanted to show you a plant room tour, and especially all of the bulbs that I have been forcing. They are so gorgeous, and I also wanted to highlight some of the houseplants that I have here because they're also so beautiful. And we might as well consider this the first garden tour of the year. Even though this is an indoor garden, there's still a lot of things going on. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this tour. All right, I will start on the left side, and this is actually where I have most of my plants because the light is best from these windows right here. And the first plant I wanted to show you is the Monstera deliciosa. Now, this was a small plant I bought about 2 years ago, and I was so excited to see those leaves develop because the juvenile leaves do not have any cutouts and no holes in them. And as they mature, they start to have cutouts, and then eventually, and it happened for me this winter, they start to have holes in them. I love it. And I did have some questions about how do I support my Monstera. I have these 2 really thick bamboo stakes that support the plant, and it actually is very, very important to have some sort of support for your Monstera if you want to have those cutouts, and if you don't want your plant to be kind of laying all over the floor. Now, behind it, there is a Sansevieria, and that one right there and this one were in the same pot, and it got so big that I actually popped the pot with its roots. That's how strong that plant is. So I divided it, and I really like the vertical structure of it right there near the wall. And this Ficus benjamina, I show it to you guys every winter, and I think it just is getting so big. I'm not sure what to do with it. I keep pruning it. I may have to do some root pruning on this thing because it is a giant tree in the room. And right here, this is the first flower display that I have. This tulip here is Exotic Emperor. Exotic Emperor and Double Flag are my top 2 double tulips that I have grown. I just love them. They give you so much wow for one tulip, and these were not the best quality bulbs too, so the petals are kind of sporadic. Usually they're really full petals on this plant. Now these are Purple Flag, beautiful purple color on these tulips here, and the amaryllis that you see over here, this is Nymph. I am a huge fan of double amaryllis now. I'm definitely growing my collection. They are so gorgeous. I mean, look at that. Just full and beautiful flowers. And there's another Exotic Emperor right here. And here, as I back up, there's Irisine plant, and I keep overwintering this Irisine plant. It lives out in the garden all summer long, and I actually take cuttings of it and plant it in the shady areas of the garden to give it some pop. And I think I've been overwintering it for like 5 years now. I don't know if you guys remember this particular fern. This is a splenium that I used in one of the amaryllis arrangements. So I actually disassembled the arrangement and I planted separately. I love, love, love this fern. Love the glossy texture of it. And here I have another ficus, but this one is actually variegated. Beautiful leaves. Here is another flower vignette. Just trying to climb in here carefully. These are all hyacinths, and I do get a question asked a lot if you can force your hyacinths again. And you can, but the quality of the bulbs will not be as good. So this is a 2nd year forced hyacinth right here. And what happened, I did not mean to do this on purpose. I usually plant all of my hyacinths out in the garden after they're done being forced, and they live out in the garden happily. They rebloom very well. But sometimes I just forget to plant them out in the garden, and I put pots behind the garage and I forget about them. And I remember them sometime in January, so I put them in the house and they start blooming. So you could see the flowers are kind of sporadic compared to the first year hyacinth. You see how tight this is? I mean, they're still really, really beautiful, and I actually like to use them in bouquets. They kind of have like this cascading, beautiful structure, but they're definitely a lot looser than the first year hyacinths. Now, can we talk about this color here? This is like the richest color I've ever seen on the hyacinth. This is called Woodstock. I don't even know how to describe this color. It's just this like a raspberry maroon. Gorgeous, gorgeous hyacinth. And this, by the way, is shades of blue. And shades of blue hyacinths come in a bag of shades of blue. They could be anywhere from this beautiful antique blue, almost gray color, to true blues. And I think I have another one. I'll show you a little bit later. And this group of hyacinths here are called Purple Sensation. And these are the ones that we planted together in a video a couple of weeks ago in this big container with moss. This is what 25 hyacinths look like. They're not all blooming yet. There's some that are yet to bloom, but it still looks so gorgeous and it smells amazing in this room. Sometimes people think that it's super overwhelming with so many hyacinths. It's really subtle. They become overwhelming when they're at the end of their bloom cycle. That's when I hurry up and I place them outside. But right now it's still very, very pleasant scent. So I put a rock in there because one of the bulbs actually died. I think it still looks really good. And that is the second container that I planted in that video. And I built a nest for it. I think it looks so beautiful. And since I'm here, let me talk about this plant here. This is sage leaf willow, and this is a new plant for me. And I got it from an expo that I went to a couple of weeks ago. It's a conference for landscape professionals, and they have a lot of booths there with plant companies, new breeders, new plants. And this plant caught my eye, and the gentleman that was manning the booth said, you know, you can have this plant after the show because we're not sure what to do with all of the plants. So I actually kept the stats to show you. This is a super hardy plant. This is hardy to zone 2 and heat zone 6. So my zone is actually the limit where it can grow. It could not grow any more south than me. Also, this is a native plant. And I just love the silver foliage on it. Anything with silver foliage is like totally my vibe. And then I had the catkins here. Let's see, yes. So it actually does what any regular willow will do. And I think it will be really great for like early spring arrangements. Now, this cannot be a houseplant, obviously. I'm just having it here temporarily until I can plant it outside. But it looks so beautiful right now with all of the flowers. Look at that. In fact, you know what? Let me back up and talk about this from a design point of view. So this is almost like an outdoor flower bed because design principles apply if you have an indoor plant room or an outdoor. So for example, you know, I have this tree over here. I have some shrubs, right? I have some plants with larger, bolder leaves and some finer textures. And then I have these layers of beautiful color. So this could be done outside as well. And here on the floor, I have some Rex begonias, which are quickly becoming some of my favorite tropical plants. They're definitely not the easiest to grow, and they're super fussy, but I placed them outside. They were actually in the patio area last summer, and they did really well. And as soon as I bring them inside, you can see they start to scorch a little bit. They do like the high humidity outside for sure. But the summer is right around the corner, so you guys are gonna go outside again, don't worry. Now, this plant is a split leaf philodendron, and it has an interesting history. A friend of mine, she was moving from a larger apartment to a smaller apartment, and she could not accommodate this plant, so she rehomed it. And I've had this plant for a very long time. I actually divided it a number of times and gave it to my friends. That's how we gardeners are. We just spread the plants all around. It's beautiful, large texture leaf. A lot of people confuse it with monstera, but they are totally different species. So I don't know if you could see this. I have more flowers coming up. These are tulips that I kept in the garage over the winter. These are more purple flags. And this is how I get succession of blooms. I think it's going to be so beautiful when these tulips bloom here. Okay, let me pan over very slow, because I wanted to show you some of the plants that I have here, like this gorgeous jasmine that I got in Trader Joe's. So Trader Joe's is actually one of my favorite spots to shop for plants. They always have something interesting. And I never had true jasmine before this year. And they actually sell it when it's not in bloom, so I wasn't sure what to expect. And it is just so beautiful, that delicate texture, gorgeous scent, and it fits in so well in this plant room here. And another plant that I really, really love from this past summer, this is Kalanchoe beharensis, and I had it in the patio, and it's a succulent type plant, but I actually had it planted together with elephant ears, and they got along really well. I don't know how that worked, but this plant is like begs to be touched. It is like, feels like felt. I love the feeling of this plant. I also love the architectural structure of this plant as well. And this is Apple Blossom Amaryllis. This is the last one to bloom from my reblooming amaryllis, the ones that we dug up back in September and put in a dormancy. So this is the end of the amaryllis season for me. Another plant that I'm overwintering from outside is Tradescantia. This is Purple Heart. Again, been overwintering it for many, many years. I actually take cuttings of it. I put it in a lot of my outdoor arrangements. And this way I actually save on a little bit of money. I don't have to buy as many annuals. Also, another plant that I'm overwintering, this is Flax Silver Streak. Love this plant, beautiful foliage on this. Okay, this houseplant here, when I saw it in the nursery, I could not resist. This is Philodendron Birkin. And I mean, how could you resist this? Look at this new foliage. It is white, it looks like flowers, but then when it ages, you see it's starting to age here, it becomes green, and then eventually it will become this variegated foliage. Love, 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 love this plant. This is another example of what a hyacinth that has been forced the second year looks like. Again, very sporadic flowers. Now this is a muscari that I'm forcing right now. And I don't always force muscari because it is all foliage for a very long time. And this foliage gets really strappy and you do not see the flowers for a long time. And sometimes I actually have to cut the foliage to see the flowers. But still, those flowers are so pretty. And what I do at the end of its bloom, I actually plant everything outside. And now I have like a small collection of muscari. All of it I have been forcing over the years. Also in this particular spot, I am propagating a lot of houseplants right now. Right now is the best time to propagate your houseplants. They root very easily in water, like this coleus right here, that I'm rooting to plant outside in my flower beds. And even harder rooting plants like this ficus here, look at that, roots. That is so exciting. Now the reason why it is much easier to propagate your houseplants right now is that because they're actually developing chemicals that aids in propagation. So highly recommend, if you need to propagate anything, if you want to give some plants to your friends, or maybe you want more plants, right now is a really good time. And here I have another vignette with some blooming flowers, like these crocuses right here. Another shades of blue hyacinth. And this hyacinth right here is called Pink Pearl, and it is a really bright pink color. This iris is Iris reticulata, and I now understand why I don't force more irises, because they are very short blooming flower. Hyacinths and tulips definitely last a lot longer as forced flowers. Crocuses and irises, not so much. And these are the snowdrop kokedamas that I made in the video, in a previous video, so they are doing really well. These right here, I don't know if you recognize them, these are the rabbit foot ferns that I used in the arrangement with amaryllis a couple of months ago. I just love these ferns. They are so much fun with these rabbit feet that they have here. See that? They actually grow new fronds from those hairy tentacles. It is just such a great fern. I actually find this fern not as fussy as a lot of other ferns that I tried. And right here, I have a cloche with a streptocarpella to keep humidity up. And this is my little succulent collection here. It's a panda plant. Again, begs to be touched. Love that little guy. And here, there are my magazines. It's a coffee, Schefflera, Dracaena. And this is one of the elephant ears I'm overwintering as an actual house plant. Everything else I actually decided to overwinter as corms, because I just don't have the space in the plant room anymore. But these are coffee cups. And this is my collection of hanging plants right here. And I had an orchid rebloom. Every time I have orchid rebloom, I am so excited, because I do have a hard time having my orchids rebloom, and it does have mealybugs on it that I have to take care of. I just saw this. Okay. Isolation next for you. And then I have a burro's tail here, string of turtles, philodendron. There's some Tradescantia, and this philodendron neon. I just love this plant. I bought it, it was like a little guy, and now it's trailing all the way down. And I'm just going to pan really slowly. That's my extra light that I needed to use today, because it's kind of dark. And this is the overview of the plant room. And this is probably where you usually see me, right here, making videos. And I actually wanted to talk about this desk real quick. This is my work desk, and this is what I use to work on my projects. But also, if I need to make a video and elevate this desk, I can actually do that. It changes heights, and I love this desk. I've had it for a long time. It was one of the best investments in my business. But I got a little bit tired of the white surface, so I actually bought one of those inexpensive contact papers on Amazon that looks like wood, and that's what I did. I mean, it's kind of growing on me. First, I thought it looked a little bit fake, but not anymore. You guys tell me, it probably looks even better on camera than in real life. So if I get tired of this, I can again switch it to a different contact paper or change it back to white surface. Oh, forgot to tell you about this fern. So this was a rescue. I saw this in a nursery for $5, you guys. It was kind of on its last legs. It was really root bound in a small pot, and I brought it home. I had to rehydrate it, and then I replanted it in a lot bigger pot, and it looks so good right now. It's only been a couple of months, and this Boston fern, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, it is a Boston fern. It actually grew a lot of new fronds, and it's doing amazing. So if you see a plant in a nursery that needs saving, a rescue, definitely try it, especially if it's a really good price. You can get something as beautiful as this. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this plant room tour, and I hope you give forced bulbs a try. You don't need to force as many bulbs, but I think just a couple of small pots like this or like this that you can find a spot for either in your fridge or on heated garage or a cool basement. And then around this time of year, you could have beautiful flowers on your desk or on your kitchen table. I think it's just so wonderful to expedite spring because hyacinths normally bloom around May time in my zone. So right now they are blooming 2 months earlier in my plant room, and it's just so wonderful to be in this environment right now and see all this color. Anyway, thank you so much, you guys, for watching today's video. I hope you learned something new, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.